nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm looking forward to talking to you because I realized I'd seen your other film, The Obituary of Tunde Johnson. And I
Yes.
had interviewed Steven Silver before, and it got me to thinking about your keen eye for
Oh, my
Black,
keen eye.
yes, keen eye for Black experiences that to non-Black people might seem extreme, but for us, things we think about regularly, like with Tunde Johnson and with this film. What would we do in a survival situation? What type of, why is that of particular interest of you? What makes that sort of niche intriguing to you?
Well, I've been a fan of thrillers and heist movies and, all sorts of things, since I was, young and we've become very, very accustomed to seeing, white people in those spaces. We don't question their presence there. And when Black people appear in those spaces, what what tends to happen is that their characters are either reduced to functionaries, right? So it's not that they don't have an important role in a story or something dynamic around them happen in the space of the goal of the story, but there it tends to be nothing beyond that, right?
Mm,
We're not vested in the family that they came from or that the trauma or experience they had that brought them to this moment and how that, fuels them to do the thing that they're going to kind of do. And so having full, rich, complete human Black characters in a story and making their experience part of why the story unfolds the way that it does, it's just a complete sort of humanizing for me. And, that is something that I've always wanted to do, even in the space of comedy. It's still bringing a full set of experiences, a full set of perspectives. Yeah, if the economy collapses, we're part of the economy too. It didn't just collapse in white suburban neighborhoods, it collapsed in all of the neighborhoods. We may in some cases be on the lower economic spectrum of that, but there's some Black people with money who are worried about it too. And so just being able to explore a different experience while not making it at the expense of sort of the culture and the presentation of Blackness is something that is just incredibly important to me. I'm not making it about being Black, but in all of the substantive ways, how they behave, what they care about, how they express are things that are incredibly familiar to Black people. We look at it, we go, yes, that feels accurate, that feels authentic. A lot of times when we look at Black characters in popular film, popular culture, while we appreciate and respect and want to have the opportunities to do that work, oftentimes they leave something to be desired because you know, it's not nuanced, it's not full. Again, sometimes it's just kind of again sort of functionary roles, not something above tokenism,
mhm.
but not as complete as being a whole person.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that because that further humanized them to me that they have this tension in the household for whatever reason. And there might be some challenges to gender norms. Usually, when you see these survivalist situations, it's this loving, please don't go get the baby from the well. And like the household is in perfect accord. And then they're thrust into this survival situation. Here, we've got people all over the place. These are some real life people
Yeah,
going
I
on.
mean, it's like I always thought it was like a pinball machine. It's like you don't, it's just bouncing around. You don't know who's going to do what. It depends on what they hit and how they hit it. If they hit it at this angle, it can go this way. They hit it this angle, it goes another way. And so that's just like an exciting way to keep, to keep a story moving, especially when you're dealing with so few characters. Everybody has to be rich and full and informed.
Mhm. So I thought about their accommodations when they're in their survival situation, and I didn't know if to call it modern because it's our current era, but there's creature comforts to it. If you were thrust into a modern day survival situation and had to go underground, what's the first luxury one luxury has to stay. You can either keep your internet, you can keep maybe say a microwave, say, or maybe, I don't know, something that you deem to be luxury in your life. Which is, what are you going to keep? What is most valuable to you? Because they kept it looked like they kept the internet.
No, butane lighters and fuel.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, fire and water, man. You don't think of fire as a luxury until you can't get fire.
When I spoke to Erica last week, I really enjoyed talking to her about the challenges of gender norms, of the hierarchy in a family, to loyalty, to honor. There's a lot of themes that are at play here, which I'm not going to ask you to choose which theme you like the most, but what was key to you to make sure all of these moments stood on their own? Because each of them were very, very clear throughout the film. They weren't sort of watered down. They were very layered, like the characters.
Well, one of the things that was important to me is that every character is dealing with a particular type of truth, right? They are all engaging with one another based on a real experience and trying to find out how to manage what has happened to them and what has happened with them as they engage with other people. So in all of these encounters, everyone's really being honest. There are points in which there is some deceit, but you know, in the truest sense of the word, as each of these characters come to each other, they're really being honest about what they need. They're really being honest about what they want, and that honesty causes a sort of difficulty that is a very different difficulty than if you lied and pretended you didn't need or want something. You know, what happens when I tell you exactly what I want and you don't want to give it to me, but I still need it and you've got it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, this story's not over. And so it doesn't give anybody any convenient out. You know, nobody can just, you know, go take their ball and go home. They got to stay in there and figure it out. And again, the characters all do that with a great degree of integrity, which I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it as well. I'm a fan of the films that appear on the Blumhouse platform because they're very thought-provoking, very layered, very in touch, you could say, with social themes without sort of beating you over the head with it. So I like that. It was I felt like I learned something at the end.
Well, I want to give them a lot of credit because in the original script that the Buckmelters wrote, the Greg and Helen characters were white. And I mean, for me, you know, first of all, again, it was important for me to see Black people in this type of story. And Blumhouse was incredibly supportive uh, in making that adjustment and then giving me some space to kind of inform it. And you know, we found some great cast, and I think that makes the film more provocative and more interesting because, you know, underneath, you know, what was, you know, the original sin of America is slavery, right? And so to bring a society to a point of financial collapse and have someplace in there these unresolved issues about who we are, how we got here, and what are we supposed to do as we try to move forward. It really makes it incredibly layered. And again, Blumhouse was super supportive about that particular aspect of it. And even with the Buckmelters, I mean, it was a sharp turn from what, you know, they had thought about. I won't say envisioned because I think they were writing from, you know, from a truth and from an experience, which is great. So for me to be able to step in and bring, you know, that particular color, so to speak, to it, I was supported and embraced, and that just really made the process really, really great. Because again, you know, no one was afraid in this space of the idea. The idea was exciting. Let's explore it. Let's see where it goes. And and being able to take this sort of exploration is sort of reflective even of what's happening with the characters in the story. If they can give up what they believe and deal with what they're dealing with, that is probably the road to salvation.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you, sir, for your time. I truly enjoyed this. I'm so big on Erica Alexander. I love seeing her in this role. And this was just wholly enjoyable for me. And I
do
appreciate
want to say just really briefly, I did love seeing Erica in this role, and Derek as well. So for Erica, I loved putting her in a position as an attractive, intelligent, sensual woman, and really being enjoyed and embraced in that space. I love being able to take Derek, who's this incredibly intelligent and articulate and sensitive guy, and giving him a character that really allowed him to lean into that with a type of masculinity I don't think we oftentimes get to see, specifically in Black men. So it was just really enjoyable to be able to give them those types of characters to play, and not to take any light away from Sam and his ability to take this character who could easily be misinterpreted as being one type of person, when in fact he is someone else entirely. And I just love that he was able to bring a type of shading to that character, which, like I said, just brought it to life in a full, rich way. So they all did incredible work.
They really did. They really did. Well, again, I thank you. I just really liked it. It was so provocative and interesting, and the casting and the performances and everyone, beautiful work under your keen eye. Thank you so much, sir. And I appreciate you.
Thank
again.
you. Appreciate you.
Better shake your booties for Black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for Black girl nerves.